The laughter started before the lecture even began. It rippled through the massive tiered hall of the Zenthari Interstellar Academy, bouncing off crystal walls and holographic star maps. Hundreds of alien students from dozens of species leaned back in their seats, tails flicking, mandibles clicking, frills fluttering with amusement. On the central display, a small blue-green planet rotated slowly, marked with a single classification tag, Earth category, Deathworld. For most of the students, the label itself was the joke. Deathworld, scoffed a tall, scaled student from the upper tier. That thing has liquid water covering 70% of its surface. Predators can't even see through it. Another voice chimed in, sharp and buzzing. The gravity is barely tolerable. I've trained on moons twice as dense. How could anything dangerous evolve there? The laughter grew louder. Earth was far from the Academy's usual case studies. Real Deathworlds were planets where the air itself corroded lungs, where the ground hunted you, where storms could flay cities in minutes. Earth looked mild, comfortable, weak, and yet the title of the lecture glowed above the display in stark glyphs. Why humans should not exist. That phrase finally drew attention. A few students leaned forward, others exchanged confused looks. Humans were a relatively new species on the galactic stage, recent enough that many students had never seen one in person. They were mammals, bipedal, soft-skinned, lacking claws, fangs, venom. Natural armor by every visible metric, poorly designed for survival. The idea that they shouldn't exist sounded like academic exaggeration. Or worse, fear. At the front of the hall, Professor Krydik waited patiently. The old Threxian didn't silence the room. He didn't need to. He simply watched, for unblinking eyes, observing the amusement with something that looked disturbingly like pity. When the laughter finally faded on its own, he tapped a claw against the console. The planet Earth zoomed closer, clouds swirling, continents sharp and vibrant. You mock it? He said calmly. That is expected. Every cohort does. A low murmur passed through the hall. But Kratak continued. By the end of this lesson, you will understand why Earth is called a Deathworld and why humans, by all reasonable biological models, should not be alive at all. That got silence. The professor gestured, and the display shifted. Numbers flooded the air atmospheric composition. Tectonic activity, temperature variance, predator density, microbial lethality. At first glance, it looked like any other planetary dataset, but then the comparisons appeared. Earth's statistics were overlaid against known Deathworlds, and slowly, uncomfortably, the laughter did not return. Let us begin with the basics, Kratik said. Earth's environment is not stable. It is actively hostile. Its climate swings violently. Its surface reshapes itself through earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and shifting plates. Its oceans generate storms that release more energy than most planetary weapon systems. A student raised a tentacle, but many worlds have storms. Professor, yes, K.R. Earthek replied. Most worlds do not have storms that can erase entire coastal regions in hours. The display changed again. Images flickered, towering waves, spinning cloud systems, lightning striking endlessly. The professor did not linger. Then there is Earth's biosphere, he said. On many planets, life occupies narrow ecological niches. On Earth, life competes everywhere. Land, sea, air, underground. Inside other living organisms, that last point drew a few uneasy shifts. Earth's dominant species, Krathak continued, is not its largest predator. It is not the fastest, it is not the strongest. Humans lack natural weapons. They bleed easily, they break easily, they suffocate easily. Several students nodded, reassured. And yet, the professor said softly, they survived anyway. The room grew quiet enough that the hum of the holograms sounded loud. Humans evolved on a planet where nearly everything can kill them, K.R. Arthek said. And instead of adapting to one threat, they adapted to all of them. The display paused on a single image. Now, a human. Small, upright, unarmed. By all galactic evolutionary logic, the professor concluded, this species should have gone extinct before it ever learned to write its own name. He turned slowly to face the hall, his eyes sweeping over the students. But it didn't. And that, finally, was when the first student stopped smirking and started to feel afraid. A student with crystalline skin raised a hand slowly. But adaptation is normal, they said. Competition drives evolution everywhere. Yes, K.R. Arthek agreed. But Earth accelerates it. He flicked a claw and timelines appeared. Evolutionary shifts that took millions of years on other worlds happened in fractions of that time on Earth. Their microorganisms evolve resistance to toxins within generations. Their predators learn new hunting strategies within a single lifetime. Even their plants develop chemical weapons that earned a ripple of discomfort. Plants, to most galactic species, were passive things. Humans, the professor said, were born into this chaos. The display shifted again. This time, it showed early human ancestors small-furred, walking upright on open plains. Around them loomed far larger shapes, massive predators with claws and fangs designed to kill quickly. The humans had none of that. No armor, no venom, no speed to outrun the threats. They should have been prey, Krathek said simply. A low voice from the middle tier spoke up. Then why weren't they? The professor's mandibles flexed in what might have been a smile. Because humans adapted in a way no other species on record has. The image froze. One of the early humans bent down and picked up a stone. They learned to use the environment itself as a weapon, Krathok said. Not claustals, not fangs. The hall darkened as the hologram showed flames blooming in the night. Predators recoiled, shadows danced. The humans gathered closer together. Not stronger individually, but suddenly. Protected, they did not evolve better bodies. The professor continued, they evolved better solutions. The students watched as the timeline accelerated. Stone tools became sharper, fire became controlled, shelters appeared, clothing, cooperation, communication. Each innovation pushed humans just far enough ahead to survive the next threat. But that is not what makes Earth a death world, K.R. Arthek said, his voice lowering. Nor is it what makes humans dangerous. The display abruptly changed tone. Bright colors vanished, replaced by harsh data streams. Temperature graphs spiked violently up and down. Earth's environment does not merely test life, he said. It betrays it. Images flashed ice, sheets, swallowing continents, then retreating. Droughts turning fertile land to dust. Floods erasing entire regions. Humans survived repeated mass extinctions, Krathak said. Events that wiped out the dominant species of their world. Not once, multiple times. A student hissed softly in disbelief. They endured planetary resets. Yes, the professor replied. And each time, they adapted faster. The hologram showed a particularly sharp spike. This, Krathak said, is Earth's gravity. Stronger than galactic average. Humans evolved under constant strain. Their muscles denser, their bones reinforced, their cardiovascular systems overbuilt compared to most sapient species. A murmur spread through the hall. A few students glanced at their own limbs, suddenly aware of how light they felt by comparison. And yet, the professor said, gravity is the least of it. The display zoomed into a microscopic scale. Strange shapes appeared: viruses, bacteria, parasites. Earth is a biological war zone, he said. Its microorganisms kill more efficiently than many macro predators. Humans are born into this invisible conflict. From the moment they exist, their bodies are under attack. A student leaned forward, eyes wide. How did they survive that? Cried Tak. Let the question hang for a moment. They did not avoid it, he said finally. They endured it. The hologram shifted to show the human immune system in action: cells, attacking invaders with relentless aggression. Human bodies respond to constant biological threats by overreacting. The professor said, their immune systems are so aggressive that they sometimes attack their own tissues. That sounds defective, someone muttered. It is, Krathak said. And yet, it keeps them alive. The professor turned away from the display and faced the students fully now. Every element of Earth pushes life toward extremes. Survive or die. Adapt or vanish. Humans did not just survive this pressure. It shaped their psychology. The room was completely silent. They evolved to expect danger, Krathak said, to function under stress. To keep going while injured, while afraid, while exhausted. The image of the lone human returned, standing against a backdrop of storms, predators, and fire. And this, the professor concluded quietly, is only the beginning of why humans should not exist. Several students swallowed hard, realizing for the first time that the title of the lecture had not been a metaphor at all.
Most of you still believe this is a story about biology.
About strength, environment, or survival traits. And that belief is comforting. It allows for distance, a sense of separation. You believe extinction is a sudden, dramatic event. A single catastrophe, a catastrophic failure. But on Earth, extinction is usually a much more persistent, grinding affair. On this planet, every single organism lives under constant, unrelenting pressure. Predators evolve sharper teeth. Prey evolves better, camouflage. Parasites evolve to bypass immune systems that are constantly adapting. Bacteria and viruses evolve faster than most species can even respond. This relentless cycle has been the crucible for life there for billions of years. And in this crucible, a unique species was forged.
Humans. They do not stop when they should. On most civilized worlds, injury triggers an immediate retreat.
Pain is a clear, unequivocal command to survive by withdrawing. On Earth, however, pain is often treated as negotiable. Human nervous systems are capable of consciously overriding their own failure signals. They can ignore pain responses, push past exhaustion, and continue functioning long enough to complete a task, even if it means destroying their own bodies. Does this lead to their destruction? Yes, frequently. But you see, Earth does not reward caution. It rewards persistence. It rewards the gambler. Humans evolved to repeatedly gamble with their own survival. And sometimes, against all odds, they won. They inhabit temperature ranges that should be lethal to beings of their biology. They endure cold that should stop their blood and heat that should cook their organs. And why would they ever go to such places? Because they can. And because their curiosity often overrides their instinct for self-preservation. Humans are not content to simply survive. They must test their limits, repeatedly. Sometimes recklessly, they crossed oceans on flimsy rafts, traversed frozen wastelands, and settled in deserts that killed countless individuals along the way. And yet, they kept going. Their history is a long, unbroken chain of pushing into the uninhabitable until it becomes home. But endurance alone does not explain why humans are such an anomaly. Many species in the galaxy endure hardship. What truly sets humans apart is how they respond when endurance finally fails. When humans engage in conflict, they do not seek balance or a negotiated truce. They seek resolution. Absolute resolution. On Earth, competition didn't just stop at survival. It escalated to dominance. Now, you might say, but many species wage war. And yes, that is true. But most species stop when victory is reasonably assured, when the cost of continuing outweighs the benefit. Humans, however, possess an unusual psychological trait. They can endure staggering loss without disengaging from the conflict. They can continue fighting despite hopeless odds, long after any logical calculation would dictate a surrender. They have words for this: stubbornness, defiance. On a death world like Earth, giving up, even for a moment, is often a fatal mistake. Humans internalize this lesson so deeply, it became part of their core psychology. So, are you suggesting they don't feel fear? No. Quite the opposite. Humans feel fear intensely, but for them, fear is not a paralytic. It's an accelerant. Fear sharpens their senses, accelerates their reaction time, and temporarily increases their physical strength. It narrows their focus to the immediate threat. Fear does not paralyze humans the way it does most known species. It prepares them for the fight. And when fear isn't enough to drive them, humans invent new motivations. They create abstract concepts like loyalty, honor, rage, or purpose. And they will sacrifice themselves for these concepts, not because they lack a survival instinct, but because they have evolved the unique ability to choose to override it for something they deem more important. Earth shaped humans to accept suffering as a temporary condition and to view their own survival as negotiable. This psychological framework alone makes them fundamentally incompatible with almost every galactic model of sentient behavior we have ever devised.
And yet, after all this, you still believe this lecture is meant to inspire fear.
You think this is a warning. It is not. This lecture ends not with a statement, but with a question. A question for all of you to consider. What happens when a species forged in the fires of a death world, a species that treats pain as a suggestion, and survival as a choice, finally leaves its cradle and steps out into the galaxy? Good morning, class. Please, settle down. Today's lecture is of particular importance. We will be discussing a species that has recently joined our galactic community, the humans from Terra, or as they call it, Earth. Now, pay close attention. You may have encountered them, perhaps even interacted with them. They seem ordinary, don't they? They share our bipedal form, our general physiology. But do not be deceived by this superficial similarity. The truth is far more unsettling. Humans are, to put it bluntly, terrifying. To understand why, we must first understand their origin. Terra is what the Galactic Codex classifies as a death. For those unfamiliar with the term, a death world is a planet where nearly every form of life has evolved to be predatory, venomous, or aggressively defensive. On Terra, life is a constant, brutal struggle for survival. Imagine a world where the very air can carry lethal pathogens, where the water hides predators, and where even the plants have developed sophisticated poisons and thorns to protect themselves. This is the crucible in which humanity was forged. Every other sentient species in this galaxy evolved on worlds we would consider gardens. Worlds where the primary challenges were intellectual or social, not a daily battle against a hostile ecosystem. Our ancestors had the luxury of developing philosophy and art without worrying if a passing insect could kill them with a single sting. Humans had no such luxury. Their history is a litany of wars, not just against each other, but against their own planet. They battled ice ages, supervolcanoes, and plagues that would have annihilated any of our civilizations. And this has shaped them in profound ways. Let's consider their physiology. Humans possess an astonishing level of endurance. They can sustain physical activity for periods that would cause catastrophic collapse in most other species. This is a trait developed from persistence, hunting, literally chasing their prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They have a remarkable ability to heal from injuries that would be fatal to us. Their bones are denser, their muscles stronger. They are, in essence, built for a world that is constantly trying to kill them. But it is their psychology that is truly alien. They have a concept they call adrenaline, a chemical response to fear or danger that doesn't cause them to freeze or flee, but instead enhances their strength, speeds their reaction time, and dulls pain. Think about that. Their bodies react to terror by becoming more effective predators, more resilient fighters. When cornered, a human does not despair. It becomes more dangerous. Furthermore, their social structures are built around this reality. They form incredibly tight-knit groups, tribes, nations, crews. This pack-bonding instinct is deeply ingrained. A human will readily sacrifice themselves for their pack. This is not the calculated logic we might apply. It is a primal, emotional drive. An attack on one is an attack on all, and the response is often disproportionately ferocious. We have seen this in our simulations. A single insult to a human diplomat can trigger a response from their entire species that is alarming. They also possess a disturbing capacity for invention, born from necessity. Their entire technological ascent, from sharpened stones to starships, has been driven by the need to overcome their environment and each other. They weaponize everything. A tool for cutting crops becomes a sword. A method for splitting atoms becomes a bomb. Their creativity is boundless, but it is a creativity forever shadowed by its potential for destruction. They see a challenge, and their first thought is not how to avoid it, but how to conquer it, how to defeat it. So, when you see a human, remember what you are looking at. You are not seeing a fragile biped from a gentle world. You are seeing a creature forged in a planetary crucible of unimaginable violence. You are seeing a persistence hunter, a pack bonder, a survivor of a world that tried and failed to extinguish it 1,000,000 times over. They smile, they are friendly, they offer you their strange, fermented beverages. But behind that smile is a mind that can conceptualize total warfare and a body that can endure it. They are the children of death. And now, they walk among us. Class dismissed. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we're alone? For centuries, that question has captivated us. We've sent probes into the void, listened for faint signals, and imagined countless civilizations out there among the stars. But what if the most astonishing alien in the universe is us? What if humanity is the galactic anomaly, the ultimate weirdo on the cosmic block? Let's start with a little something called the Fermi paradox. The universe is unbelievably old and vast. There are hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Statistically, there should be life everywhere. So, as physicist Enrico Fermi famously asked, "Where is everybody?" We've been scanning the skies for decades and have found nothing. An eerie, cosmic silence. This silence is the first clue that we might be different. Now, let's consider our planet. Earth is a cosmic jackpot. We orbit our star, the sun, in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, but just right for liquid water to exist. This liquid water is the secret sauce for life as we know it. We also have a large moon that stabilizes our planet's wobble, preventing wild climate swings that would make complex life impossible. Add a strong magnetic field to shield us from deadly solar radiation and a dynamic system of plate tectonics that recycles essential minerals. Take away any one of these things, and we probably wouldn't be here. The sheer number of things that had to go asterisk just right, asterisk for us, is staggering. Maybe a planet this perfect is incredibly rare, but let's say other planets did win the lottery. Life might have started, but it's a brutal journey from single-celled organism to intelligent civilization. Earth's history is a series of catastrophic events. We've had massive asteroid impacts, planet-freezing ice ages, and volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sun for years. Each one was a potential reset button for life. The asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, for example, was a stroke of luck for our tiny mammalian ancestors. Without it, we might still be scurrying around in the shadows. The path to intelligence is like navigating a minefield for billions of years. Maybe most life forms just don't make it through. Even if life survives and becomes intelligent, does it automatically build spaceships? Look at our own planet. Dolphins are incredibly intelligent, with complex social structures and language. But without hands, they're not building radio telescopes. Octopuses are masters of camouflage and problem solving, but their short lifespans and solitary nature mean they do pass down knowledge through generations in the way we do. Humans possess a unique combination: intelligence, social cooperation, and physical dexterity with our amazing opposable thumbs. This trifecta allowed us to create tools, control fire, develop language, build cities, and ultimately look to the stars. This specific combination might be the true galactic rarity. Think about our own psychology. We are relentlessly curious. We climb the highest mountains and dive to the deepest parts of the ocean just to see what's there. We spend billions on telescopes to peer back to the dawn of time. Is this drive universal? Maybe other intelligent species are perfectly content on their own world. Maybe they're philosophers or artists who have no interest in the cold, hard mechanics of physics and engineering. Perhaps the ambition to boldly go where no one has gone before is a uniquely human and perhaps very strange trait. Then there's the concept of the great filter. This is the idea that there is some universal barrier or challenge that is incredibly difficult for life to overcome. Maybe the jump from non-living chemicals to life itself is the filter. Maybe it's the leap from simple cells to complex ones. Or maybe, and this is the scary part, the filter is still ahead of us. Perhaps any civilization that develops technology advanced enough to reach for the stars also develops the technology to destroy itself through nuclear war, environmental collapse, or rogue artificial intelligence. The cosmic silence we hear might be a graveyard of civilizations that failed their final test. Our survival, so far, makes us an anomaly. We're the ones who haven't fallen into the trap. Yet, let's consider another wild idea. Maybe the universe isn't silent at all. Maybe we're just not listening correctly. Communicating with an alien species might be like trying to explain a movie to an ant. Our concepts of math, physics, and even consciousness could be fundamentally different. We're broadcasting in a way we understand. But what if they communicate through gravitational waves, or neutrinos, or something we haven't even discovered? We could be living in the middle of a bustling galactic city, but we're deaf, blind, and mute to all the conversations happening around us. Or perhaps we're being deliberately ignored. This is the zoo hypothesis. Imagine you find a previously uncontacted tribe in the Amazon. The responsible thing to do isn't to land a helicopter and hand out smartphones. It's to observe from a distance, to let them develop naturally without interference. Maybe to advanced galactic civilizations. That's what we are, a developing species in a cosmic nature preserve. They're watching us, studying our art, our wars, our reality TV, and just waiting for us to mature. We aren't finding them because they don't want to be found. So what does it all mean? It means that whether we are alone or just one of many, we are special. If we are the only intelligent, self-aware life in this vast galaxy, then the universe is experiencing itself through our eyes. All the beauty, all the wonder, all the knowledge, it rests on our shoulders. We have a responsibility to survive, to explore, and to carry that flame of consciousness forward into the future. That makes every human life, every discovery, every piece of art infinitely precious. And if we're not alone, if we are just the weird, ambitious kids on the block, then we have an incredible future ahead of us. We have the chance to one day meet others, to share our stories, and to learn the answers to questions we can't even imagine yet. Either way, the story of humanity is the greatest story ever told. We are the anomaly, the paradox, the question mark in the cosmic equation, and the adventure is just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the cosmos, be sure to like, subscribe, and join us for our next exploration. Greetings, esteemed colleagues and members of the Galactic Federation. Today's lecture is on a topic of growing and, frankly, alarming importance: the species known as humans, originating from the Class 12 Deathworld designated Earth. For millennia, our understanding of sentient evolution was based on species from stable, predictable homeworlds. Then, we encountered humanity. To put it bluntly, humans are a paradox wrapped in an anomaly. They evolved on a planet where everything, from the microscopic to the meteorological, was actively trying to kill them. This has forged a species that views survival not as a given, but as a constant, aggressive act. Their psychology is irrational. They form deep emotional bonds with almost anything. Their pets, their inanimate objects, even their enemies. Yet, they will wage total war over abstract concepts like honor or freedom. Their expansion across the stars has been terrifyingly rapid. While we spend centuries debating the ethics of colonizing a new world, humans will land, establish a settlement, and start complaining about the local property taxes within a single generation. Their problem solving is chaotic. Faced with a failing hyperdrive, a Glorn engineer would consult the schematics. A human engineer will hit it with a wrench, rewire it with something they found in the kitchen, and somehow increase its efficiency by 20%. In diplomacy, they are equally baffling. They might see the strategically vital system for no reason other than a gesture of goodwill, only to later declare war over a perceived insult during a trade negotiation. In combat, their tactics are heresy. They weaponize anything and everything. They employ strategies so illogical, so contrary to every known doctrine of warfare, that they circle all the way back around to being devastatingly effective. We struggle to comprehend them because we are trying to apply logic to a species forged in the heart of chaos. They are not conquerors in the traditional sense. They are survivors, and they have redefined what that word means on a galactic scale. We must study them. We must try to understand them, but we must never, ever underestimate them. Thank you for your attention. I hope this lecture has been illuminating. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more galactic insights. The students in the hall could barely move. Even those who had traveled across dozens of star systems, faced predators, and survived political upheavals, felt the weight of what they were learning. Humans were no longer just a topic in a lecture, they were a force, one that refused to follow any known rules. Every example Professor Krythak showed deepened their unease. One student, a sleek, chitin-covered alien with multiple eyes, whispered, "Professor, surely these examples are exaggerations. No species can survive all of that." K.R. Arthek shook his head slowly. "No exaggeration. Humans survive because they refuse to stop. They do not merely endure. They anticipate failure and exploit it. They improvise faster than anyone else can react." The hologram flickered again, showing a human convoy trapped on a desert planet, surrounded by hostile alien mercenaries. The students leaned forward, some instinctively pulling back from the projected heat. On any other species, this would have been a catastrophic defeat. The humans moved seemingly without strategy at first, disorganized, struggling. But within minutes, tools, vehicles, and even parts of the environment were repurposed. A sandstorm was used as cover, crude barricades became lethal traps, and civilians humans with no military training joined in, directing supplies, improvising weapons, and holding positions. "They are improvising under fire," a tentacled student muttered. "But that should fail. They are too small, too fragile." "That is the point," Krathak said, voice low. "Fragility does not prevent humans from acting. It sharpens them. It forces innovation." The humans counterattacked in ways that seemed random at first, but the results were devastating to their opponents. By the end of the engagement, the mercenaries had retreated, suffering far higher losses than logic predicted. The humans suffered casualties, yes, but the survivors regrouped immediately, repairing damage and preparing for the next threat. "They do not retreat," a student whispered, voice trembling. "They adapt, instantly." "Yes," K.R. Arthek said. "Adaptation is their baseline. The galaxy assumes survival, but humans assume opportunity. When danger strikes, humans respond creatively, efficiently, relentlessly." The display changed to show a human research vessel encountering a planet with violent tectonic activity. A normal expedition would have been destroyed. Sensors warned of quakes, eruptions, and toxic gases. The humans aboard made rapid calculations, rearranged equipment, reinforced structures, and landed anyway. They collected samples, completed research, and departed safely. "They are fearless," one student asked, disbelieving. "No," K.R. Arthek replied. "Fear exists. Humans feel it more intensely than many species. But it does not immobilize them. It directs them. It focuses them. Fear becomes a tool, not a limiter." Another student, whose wings trembled nervously, spoke up. "But why does the galaxy tolerate them? Shouldn't they have been eradicated?" The professor's gaze swept over the class. "Because no one species can stop them without overcommitting resources. Humans do not require perfect conditions. They adapt, they survive, they expand, and in doing so, they shift the balance before anyone can react." Attempts to suppress them often fail or backfire. The students sat in stunned silence. The examples on the hologram battles, exploration missions, political negotiations all painted the same picture. A species too dangerous to underestimate, too unpredictable to control. And that KR Earth-X said softly, leaning closer, is why humans should not exist. Not because they are inherently violent, not because they seek dominance, but because they carry Deathworld resilience wherever they go. Every ecosystem, every encounter, every challenge is an opportunity, and humans exploit it with relentless ingenuity. A murmur passed through the hall. One student, finally finding their voice, asked, "Professor, if humans are like this, why haven't they taken over everything?" "They do not need to conquer," Krathek said. "They do not move for glory or domination. They survive, they endure, and by doing so, they disrupt the expectations of the galaxy. Every interaction is unpredictable. Every system they enter is forced to adjust. That is why every alien species studying them eventually learns fear." The hologram zoomed back to Earth, spinning silently in space. Professor Krathek let it linger. "This is where it all began," he said quietly. "And it is where the galaxy first learned a simple truth. A species forged in chaos, in a death world, cannot be restrained by ordinary rules. Humans carry survival itself as a weapon, and the galaxy is only beginning to understand the consequences." The students stared, some pale, some silent, all aware that their understanding of life, danger, and survival had changed forever. Humans were small, fragile, unassuming, and yet, in ways that defied logic, unstoppable. And in that moment, the classroom became more than a lesson. It became a warning. The lecture hall was no longer filled with whispers. The air felt charged, almost electric, as if it had grown heavier. Professor Krathek let his students absorb the implications of what they had seen so far. Humans were no longer merely survivors, they were catalysts. Every action they took, every planet they touched, every system they entered seemed to ripple across the galaxy in ways no species could anticipate. The display shifted again. This time it showed a cluster of human colonies on a marginal planet. Its atmosphere was thin, radiation levels were high, and surface temperatures fluctuated wildly. Sensor readings indicated that any other species would have required centuries, perhaps even millennia, to adapt. Humans, however, established a thriving settlement within a few short decades. They constructed buildings capable of withstanding extreme storms, engineered powerful energy shields to protect their vital equipment, and developed methods to extract resources from the harsh environment with astonishing efficiency. A student with trembling wings muttered, almost to themselves, "They should have failed." Every record shows conditions like that are lethal. "Yes," KR Arthek affirmed, his voice resonating through the hall. "And yet, they adapt. That is the fundamental difference between survival and extinction. Humans do not merely endure danger, they incorporate it into their methods. Every obstacle becomes a lesson, every failure a blueprint for improvement." The holographic display shifted again, this time to a scene of human diplomacy. Representatives from a newly contacted species, towering armored beings, notoriously territorial, stood across from the human delegation. At first, the aliens dismissed them, their laughter echoing through the chamber as they mocked the humans' small size and apparent lack of weaponry. But the humans remained calm, using keen observation, precise timing, and unconventional strategy to communicate effectively. Within hours, what should have been a violent confrontation ended with a mutually beneficial agreement, one that preserved resources and avoided bloodshed. A student with crystalline eyes whispered, "How? They are outmatched by every metric. By all logic, they should have been crushed. They are not crushed," Krithik replied, his gaze sweeping across the room. "They adapt, they innovate, and they endure. The galaxy consistently underestimates them because it measures only raw strength, only numbers, only the capabilities that are immediately apparent. Humans measure differently. They measure persistence, creativity, and the unwavering willingness to endure far beyond any reasonable expectation." The display flickered again, showing a human colony under a sudden attack by raiders using advanced technology. The sensors recorded the human responses in real time. Makeshift barricades were erected in minutes. Civilian vehicles were repurposed as makeshift weapons, and ordinary citizens assisted military personnel with strategic coordination. Despite being hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, the humans managed to repel the attack, inflicting losses on the raiders that defied all logical predictions. They improvised faster than the attackers can adapt, a tentacled student observed, its voice shaking with a mix of awe and fear. "Every single response is unexpected." K.R. Arthek's voice was calm but held a deadly seriousness. "Exactly. Humans do not fight according to protocol. They fight according to necessity. And necessity, when it is combined with their unique brand of ingenuity and resilience, becomes a weapon that simply cannot be predicted or countered by conventional means." The students watched as the hologram shifted to a vast galactic map, showing multiple human colonies interacting with alien systems. Conflicts erupted, treaties were negotiated, and galaxy-threatening crises were averted to all, in ways that defied established expectations and historical precedents. Star systems that had remained stable for centuries trembled under the pressure of human adaptability. "They are destabilizing the galaxy," a student whispered, its eyes wide with realization. "Yes," K.R. Arthek said softly, "not intentionally, not out of malice, but simply because a species forged in the crucible of a Deathworld carries chaos as a natural state of being. Every planet they touch, every species they meet, must adjust to their presence or suffer the consequences of their inability to do so." The students shivered collectively. The full scale of what they were witnessing began to sink in. Humans were not a single threat, a single problem, or a single species to be studied and cataloged. They were a force of nature, a chaotic combination of endurance, creativity, and unpredictability that no predictive model, no strategic protocol could possibly contain. "And," Krithik said, his voice dropping lower, creating an intense silence in the hall, "because they are human. They persist even when failure seems utterly inevitable. They endure conditions that would annihilate other species, and in doing so, they completely redefine what is possible. This is why humans, in a cosmic sense, should not exist. Not because they are aggressive, not because they seek power, but because they are unstoppable in ways the galaxy has yet to even comprehend." The room was silent. Even the youngest, most inexperienced student in the hall felt a deep, primal chill. Humans, these tiny and fragile-looking beings, had survived the impossible on their homeworld, and now their reach extended across the stars. The lesson was terrifyingly clear. Underestimate them, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Professor Krithik allowed the display to linger on a final image, a spinning Earth, small and serene from a distance, almost deceptively calm. "Remember this," he said quietly. "This unassuming blue planet forged a species capable of surviving, thriving, and reshaping entire galactic systems. And the galaxy is only just beginning to notice. Fear of them is rational. Respect for them is mandatory. Understanding them is essential for our own survival." The students stared at the image, the profound weight of the truth pressing down on them. Humans were no longer just a topic in a lecture. They were a living, evolving example of why survival against impossible odds creates not just life, but a force that no other species could ever hope to fully predict or control. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this exploration of humanity's place in the cosmos, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into science fiction and beyond. Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Federation. I am Professor Zog, and today's lecture concerns the most recent species to achieve interstellar travel, humanity. They hail from Sol 3, a planet we have classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. For context, most intelligent life in this galaxy evolved on planets rated Class 4 or lower. A Class 12 designation means that nearly every aspect of their planet's ecosystem is actively hostile to life. Let's begin with their biology. Humans evolved from apex predators, yet they are not physically dominant. They lack natural armor, fangs, or claws. To survive, they developed something far more dangerous: extreme endurance and unparalleled pack. A human can outwalk, outrun, and outlast almost any creature on their planet. They can sustain pursuit for days. Their bodies are self-repairing marvels, healing from injuries that would be fatal to most known species. Broken bones, severe lacerations. They just keep going. Their psychology is even more perplexing. Humans possess an innate territorial instinct, yet they are compulsively social and migratory. They form incredibly complex social structures built on trust, yet simultaneously exhibit a level of individual cunning that makes them formidable negotiators and strategists. They will risk their own lives to save members of their pack, even those they are not related to. This concept of altruism, of self-sacrifice for a non-familial group member, is almost unheard of. Imagine an army that fights not for a queen or a hive, but for the individual standing next to them. Now, let's discuss their environment. The gravity of Earth is punishingly high. Their star, Sol, bombards them with radiation that would sterilize most life forms. Their planet is a chaotic mess of tectonic instability, extreme weather events, and a biosphere filled with venom, poisons, and microscopic predators we call bacteria and viruses. Every day of their existence is a struggle for survival against their own world. For us, a containment breach is a catastrophe. For them, it's Tuesday. This constant battle has made them masters of adaptation and innovation. They didn't evolve in a stable paradise. They clawed their way to intelligence on a planet that tried to kill them at every turn. Their solution: technology born from desperation. They harnessed fire, split the atom, and reached their own moon using what amounts to controlled explosions. They did this not with millennia of peaceful, steady progress, but in violent, chaotic bursts of discovery, often fueled by their own internal conflicts. Their arrival on the galactic stage was not a polite knock on the door. It was the equivalent of a toddler who you just learned can bench press a starship, kicking the door off its hinges. We sent a standard greeting fleet to their system. They interpreted it as a hostile force. Before our diplomats could even transmit a message of peace, the humans had disabled 3 of our cruisers using, and I am not making this up, repurposed mining equipment and solid projectiles. They called it the kinetic solution. In conclusion, what makes humans so formidable? It's not just their technology or their resilience. It is their origin. They are the children of a world that tried to crush them. They do not fear the void of space because they were born in a crucible. They see a challenge, and their immediate, instinctual response is to fight it, outsmart it, or befriend it. While we see them as unpredictable and chaotic, they see themselves as survivors. And in this galaxy, there may be no force more powerful than a species that has already won an eons-long war against its own planet. Never underestimate a Deathworlder. Thank you for your attention. I hope this lecture has been illuminating. Be sure to subscribe for more galactic insights. Professor Kreutzig stepped forward, his voice low and deliberate. You have seen how humans survive, adapt, and endure. But the final truth is this: humans do not just survive, they transform every environment they touch. The hologram showed systems in flux wherever humans appeared. They reshaped the galaxy, Kreutzig said, not with conquest, but with relentless persistence. Every species that encounters them must adapt or fail. A student asked, but if they are so dangerous, why hasn't the galaxy eradicated them? Kreutzig's eyes gleamed, because eradication is impossible. They exploit chaos and endure losses that would obliterate others. Trying to contain them is like holding back a storm with a single finger. The hologram showed a human fleet, outnumbered and outgunned. Yet they repurposed resources and turned hazards into defenses, forcing a superior coalition to withdraw. They are unstoppable, a student whispered. Yes, Kreutzig said softly, because they carry the lessons of a death world with them. Earth's calm hides the crucible that forged them. Do not mistake serenity for weakness. Remember this. Kreutzig's voice was final. The galaxy underestimates humans at its own peril. They should not exist. And yet they do. And because they do, nothing will ever be the same again. The students sat frozen. They had begun the lecture mocking a weak species. Now, they understood the truth. Humans were terrifying in reality.